You read the title, you already know my overall thoughts on Squid Game Season 3. I found it to be very disappointing, but now let's dive into the spaghetti and meatballs of that thought process. Let me go ahead and take you on a journey through my neurons here, get you with the mind freak of why I thought this was such a letdown of a season. Getting into spoilers. Big spoiler warning. Brace for impact. Here she comes. You've been warned. Season 3 doesn't really give you answers for a lot of the things that it was gearing up towards. Like, it felt like Season 2 was setting a lot of building blocks for things that would be answered in Season 3, only for Season 3 to roll around in here with Whiskey Dick and provide absolutely none of those answers or any closure to a lot of the things that it felt like it was building towards. Best example, let's just get one right away, rip a band-aid off. The detective. The detective Huang from Season 1, it felt like he was going to have a crucial role in Season 2 and 3, which I remember Season 2 and 3, the idea was they're supposed to be watched together. It's like one season, but they split it in half. But even if you watch them together, it doesn't change anything. The detective, he basically becomes like this naval explorer. He's looking for this island. He's just constantly out on a journey trying to find this island with Captain Park, who they never make any progress. They keep trying to chip away at it, but they never get anywhere. It's not until the actual last episode that he finds the island. And by that point, it's too late to do anything. Now, of course, some things happen with the detective and learning that the captain maybe is a little shadier than he thought. Maybe the captain's in on it. I don't know why I'm like beating around the bush. I already said this is a spoiler. I'm not going to fucking tiptoe around here with foreplay. He learns that the captain is part of the Squid Game. He works with the upper echelon, the top brass. So like that kind of stuff happens, and that's okay, I guess. But it doesn't lead to anything. So the detective eventually finds the island in the last episode. He goes to the island for no shit, less than 30 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. There is literally a 30-second countdown because it's about to self-destruct because the game is over by the time he gets there. So he spends less than 30 minutes in there, and we only have 3 scenes of his presence in the actual Squid Game, trying to find his brother, because his brother is now the leader of it. He's the puppet master, and he's trying to get answers from his brother, and he knows this is the last time he's going to be able to see him, because he's not going to be able to find him again. So he gets there, doesn't find his brother until he breaks some glass, and then he watches his brother leave. And he says, "Why? Why?" His brother says nothing, and he leaves. And then so does the detective. That's the end. That is the end of the detective's whole character arc. He spends 2 seasons. He dedicates like his life to trying to find this island, trying to find his brother, only to find the island, do nothing. And then like the final, montage here, it's like a happily ever after for him where they're talking about like, man, what are we going to do now that we succeeded in, finding all this? It's like, what the fuck? You didn't succeed. You actually did nothing. If you took the detective out of Season 2 and 3 and everyone associated with like the trying to find the island, nothing changes. Actually nothing. So they're patting themselves on the back, fucking fingering each other's buttholes about how great of a job they did to get to the bottom of it, when they didn't do anything. All they did was arrive to the island as it was basically blowing up, going nuclear. Like, it's such a waste. Like, what is even the point in even bringing them back for that when they have nothing to do? There was no payoff. We didn't even learn anything from their investigation other than his brother is the top brass and Captain Park, well, he got involved with them and took the bad guys fishing, then became like a close pal of theirs. And then we learned like he was also in like gambling debt, which is how he even got there in the first place. But like, none of it matters. None of that matters. Now, there's a lot I want to get into the weeds of, but I want to give you some of my like positives about it, because I don't think the season was like horrible or like unwatchable or like ruins Squid Game or anything. Like, there are things that I do think were done well. Best example of that in this season was the hide-and-seek tag game, where one team had a knife, the other team was trying to avoid them and trying to find the exit, and the objective was you have to kill at least one person in order to pass. That was extremely tense, it was done extraordinarily well, and it had some really powerful, very powerful character moments. I just yapped about like the entire plot summary of this episode, but I'm going to just remove that here because I don't know why I'm just regurgitating all of that. This is like spoiler talk, I'm assuming you've already seen it, but I think what they did with the mother and her son, that dynamic that they built up through Season 1, I love the way they handle it here in this game, where the son still just, he lets people walk all over him. He cannot bring himself to kill someone in this game. The mother tries to sacrifice herself, letting her son stab her so her son can live, but he can't bring himself to do it, so instead he targets the newborn baby. and the mother instinctively reacts by killing her son, and he still apologizes as he's passing away in her arms. I thought that was handled really, really well. And I think it makes perfect sense for everything that they were building towards there. I also think Hyunju's death was extremely powerful. The superstar of the rebellion, she was doing incredible work in protecting the people she cares about. In this game, she was protecting the mother, the baby, and the older woman. She eventually defeats and kills someone that was trying to harm them and finds the exit. And as she's going to get her friends to the exit, she gets stabbed in the back and killed by Myung-ji, which is the father of the baby. Murders her right in front of them. I thought that was excellent. Like, it was extremely sad. It was very emotional. And it was something that made a lot of sense. We had seen that he had teamed up with Namgyu, and they're going around just like slaughtering people, trying to like get more prize money added to the pot. But also he's killing people to try and reduce the amount of people that can be a threat to his girl and the baby, and ends up killing the person that is protecting them. And while I do really like this game and the episodes around it, like, I think the first 2.5 episodes are very strong. There is some stinkiness present. And this is going to get into my big complaints, because this is what happens a lot. A character like Daiho. You'll remember in Season 2, they built him up as like a Marine. He's like a happy-go-lucky guy, but he's also, rough, tough. He's not afraid to, get down and dirty until shit hits the fan, and he's tasked with getting the magazines and bringing them back while they're rebelling. He panics, freaks out, gets too scared, and he freezes, melts down, and he doesn't bring the magazines, which inevitably leads to people dying. Well, in this season, we see the repercussion of that, which is Ji-hun hates him. And now we're seeing Ji-hun wants to kill him. So in this game, he is looking for him actively to murder him. And Daiho doesn't get anything to do other than say, I lied about everything because I wanted to be cool. I wanted you guys to think I was cool. And then he fights back against Ji-hun and then gets killed. And it's like, well, why even bother keeping him around? Like, the idea, I think, was to show that Ji-hun is kind of falling apart here after everything that happened in Season 2. Like, he spends the first episode kind of in a trance, like this fugue state. And then he snaps out of it here while choking out and killing Daiho. And he's like, it's your fault. And then he comes to the realization, yeah, it is kind of my fault. But it's still just, you don't get a whole lot out of that character. He just says, I wanted to be cool. It's like, okay, well, that's not a whole lot of payoff for this character that we built up. I felt like there could have been more there. But I don't think that's the worst case of it. There are characters that get done even dirtier. Another great example, Min-soo. He's very cowardly, but he's not Courage the Cowardly Dog who rises up and saves the day to protect the people he cares about, overcoming his fears. Min-soo in Season 3 gets reduced to a drug addict. And I'm not exaggerating, he does. All he does now is he finds the Thanos cross of pills and he starts popping pills and then gets addicted to drugs, so he starts hallucinating and eventually he dies. That's it. What the fuck is even the point in keeping him alive? Why did we give any attention to this guy throughout Season 2 and, a lot of Season 3 as well? He does get a lot of screen time, and it seems like they're sprinkling little breadcrumbs here, a little bit of seasoning on this character, that you're expecting something to come from it, but all that comes is a fucking crippling pill-popping addiction. This guy's fucking fiending, he's going through withdrawals, he looks like a League of Legends player on a 10-game losing streak by the end of it. There's just nothing there. There's no payoff. There's nothing that comes from it. What the fuck is the point? Another big example of why are we doing this, please, you're embarrassing me, is the VIPs. I didn't like them very much in Season 1. It was just cartoonishly over the top. And here it's even more cringe. Holy. It was so bad I started to bring out the old notepad. That's when you know it's getting fucking rancid. So one of the lines was, I spent so much money on my helicopter, but it was late. Or it was something like that. Basically, he was crying because he didn't get a chance to go in and start killing some of the people himself because the VIPs got to go in uniform and kill some of the people that didn't complete the hide-and-seek game objective. And he's like, I was late on this helicopter. I spent so much money, and now I'm the only one that didn't get to go hunting. And then the others are like, yes, you missed it. It was exquisite hunting. I go hunting a lot, but this was another level of hunting. Which is a fucking stupid line considering they were defenseless. You didn't really, it wasn't very sportsmanlike at all. which I guess was kind of the point, but it was still, like, all of these lines are just so ass. And they cut to them quite a bit, where they're all just kind of hanging out in the lounge here, but it's basically just like the anime club. Like, these are some dorks. It's like one of them just keeps drinking. They're like, "Did you bet on 222 to win?" "I did. I was a little too drunk. I was sipping on the most expensive brandy, and I voted on the pregnant woman with a broken foot to win jump rope. How silly. But that also means I voted on her baby." Assuming, of course, the baby's going to be a player. And they're like, "Yes, of course the baby will be a player. It'll make it far more entertaining with a baby on the line." Evil, 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 evil. Like, that's all they do. That's all they are. And it leads to nothing. You just get the worst dialogue and the worst scenes from the VIPs. Holy shit, it's trash. I hate everything with the VIPs. And it doesn't go anywhere. Like, there's no actual, like, payoff where they get their comeuppance or anything. They just sit there, they drink a little bit, they have the worst conversations ever, and then they leave on their helicopter at the end of the season, and that's it. That's it. You don't learn anything else about them. Nothing happens to them. That's curtains. It's just, shit is terrible. Even if they did get their comeuppance, all of their scenes would still be terrible. Really, the show does fall apart on the jump rope game. Even though I don't hate the game itself, it's not as good as the glass one, obviously, but I didn't hate the game. It's very simple. You cross a bridge while jumping rope. It's literally a Mario Party mini game. Then there was a twist where once one of them got across, he started pushing the others back, killing them, basically trying to just leave it so there's only him and Ji-hun, because they're the ones that passed at the time, to win it. And I actually thought that was pretty good conceptually, and it was clear what was going to happen. Junhee was going to die here, because we saw her break her ankle in the hide-and-seek one. So it was very clear she wasn't going to make it across, so she sacrifices herself, and then it is all up to Ji-hun to protect this baby. Myung-ji is still alive here, which is the father of the baby and the former lover of Junhee, which of course now puts these two together going into the final game. Big problem is, though, all of the characters we've cared about up until this point are dead. It really seems like the tag game before the jump rope was like the finale game, because that's where all of the characters we gave a fuck about lost their life. So then after the jump rope game, the people that make it are people we just don't even know, except for like the older guy. That guy is still there, and Myung-ji, but other than those two, it's just faceless nobodies. Like, it's just NPCs around here that we have not learned about at all, other than like a couple of glimpses here and there. So it takes a lot of the oomph out of the final game, because you don't care what happens to them. And it unfortunately leads to Myung-ji becoming just a psychopath. Like, they build up this character, they have him be like kind of flip-flopping, going in a lot of different directions. Like, for a little while he wants to protect the baby, protect Junhee. He does a lot of things. He even like sides with Ji-hun against the other group in like the final game, which is the Squid game, but in the sky. So he's like pushing people off, then betrays them in order to team with Junhee and protect that baby together. And then he just becomes a psychopath. Like, going into the final part, after everything goes tits up, he just becomes a raving lunatic. And that's it. But, and like, that's fine, because they did kind of plant a couple of breadcrumbs throughout that kind of leads you to believe that could happen. Like, he is just all about the money and all of it's been fake. That, like, I don't have the biggest issue there, but the big issue arises in that final game where, again, you don't care about the characters, but also, like, he was so logical and, like, so, like, calculating, and then all of a sudden Myung-ji just starts killing people on the second to last platform, knowing full well they need to kill someone on the last one in order to end the game. Why is he killing them on that platform? He could have just waited till the final one for that betrayal and gone from there. Well, not for the betrayal, but for, like, the, you know, fucking piling up corpses. The big twist on that one, though, was one of the guys who they had beat up in order to drag to the final platform to just be like a easy sacrificial lamb. Well, that guy says, "Fuck you," literally just dives off the platform, killing himself, giving the big middle fingers to Myung-ji, like, "I will not be your lunchbox," as they called him. So then that's when it becomes Ji-hun versus Myung-ji, and he just becomes just a full-blown psychopath, which is very, I don't know, it feels like kind of a cop-out. Like, it made you want to just root for Ji-hun, like, oh, now it makes sense why he's about to kill this guy. But then another big problem arises where they don't hit the button to actually start the game, and he ends up killing him, so then it doesn't count, so then Ji-hun has to sacrifice himself so the baby wins. I like the idea of it, I like the theme of it, how the baby is like hope in the, you know, the midst of despair, and how Ji-hun, by sacrificing himself so the baby wins, beats the Squid game, like, full stop, he beats In-ho, like the puppet master, he wins by doing that. but it also was highly unnecessary if they had just at any moment across their scuffle decided to hit that button. I don't know why they didn't. And there was also a really silly scene, like the way that Myung-ji actually dies is they both fall off the platform, and Ji-hun's like holding on to him with one hand, the actual action movie cliche, that big trope, and then he falls. Just underwhelming. Like, it's just underwhelming. Again, that whole thing was played without people we cared about in the first place anyway. I think it was a huge misstep. The most important game was the hide-and-seek tag one. That was the season's peak, and then from there, it went into just fucking messy, very unsatisfying territory. But I'll get a couple more positives out there. I thought No-Kule's storyline was good. That was actually pretty satisfying, where she squares off against one of the big bads there, and she's trying to protect that guy, player 246, that she knew because of his daughter who was sick, and it really strikes a chord in her and reignites that feeling of hope that she used to have with her own family. So then she betrays this way of life with the Squid Game and does everything she can to protect them. And then, after the Ji-hun sacrifice, she was about to take her own life, but then saw, nope, hope is still there. That baby gets to live, so then she decides she will also press on and live. I thought that was handled very well. But now let's go back to another negative, because I forgot to mention this one. What was supposed to be the big climax reveal where Ji-hun learns that the guy he used to call a friend in Season 2, the guy he thought was dead, is actually the game's master. He is actually the showman. He finally takes off his mask and reveals himself to Ji-hun. And we get a little bit of In-ho's backstory. Not much. It's all very shallow. We don't get to actually learn a lot about him, or a couple of other key people I thought that we'd learn more about. But like with him, we get tiddlywinks. We get to learn that he was also a player in the game. And this conversation between the two of them I thought was going to be big. It wasn't. It was actually maybe like 5 sentences total, where In-ho gives him a knife and says, the other players are conspiring to kill you in this next game, you and the baby. This is your best chance. Take this knife, go in there, kill them now, and you will win. So he gives him that knife, and then we see a flashback to where the previous game's host gave In-ho that same knife, that same choice, and In-ho went in there and he slaughtered them. He killed them. Well, Ji-hun doesn't do that, obviously, and goes through with the game, but then getting into the final game, I will say, it's not like he really did anything. He actually just sat on low power mode. He actually just sat by idle like he was just fucking glitching. He just sat on the side and let people bicker amongst each other, like just have all kinds of little arguments with each other. He did nothing. He got very lucky. That's it. And that's supposed to be like his big stand against In-ho and like defying what he thought was the only right choice. But he just got really lucky that the others kept arguing so much. Which, again, like, it did make sense, I suppose, but it was just still a little underwhelming. It wasn't like a triumph, like, take this, In-ho, my way is the correct way, watch. And then he didn't prove it until the very end, where he squares off against Myung-ji and then sacrifices himself. That was like the big I win, you lose moment. But that conversation, I just thought was so lackluster. I thought it was just so underwhelming, unfortunately. I would have liked a lot more from that. And really everything around In-ho ended up being very underwhelming. Like, we have spent so long with the detective trying to get to his brother and they don't even get to talk. They don't even have a single conversation. The best he can do is just ask why and just gets crickets. Like, that sucks. Like, that just sucks. Why did we even build towards it? I don't know. I could yap more about it, but the point is, I just felt Season 3 was just so disappointing. Oh yeah, in the actual, like, last scene, you get In-ho driving around in America, and he happens to see an American recruiter playing Dodakchi with someone in an alleyway, thus setting up the American Squid Game spin-off. Woohoo! Yeah. Cool, I guess. Can't wait for that. Like I said, I don't think Season 3 ruins Squid Game, but man, was it lackluster. It was not amazing. Not the conclusion I would have liked to see. Some good moments. Definitely some good moments. A lot of bad moments, though, too. That's really about it. So, yeah.